Kansas that were very pleasant today. However, we are looking for a new front to begin to drift south and eastward. The central and eastern parts of Kansas will very probably be cloudy in the morning, and then western Kansas will begin to get increasing cloudiness by tomorrow afternoon. Today, however, very, very pleasant reading. 73 up in the Goodland area, 72 at Garden City, 70 reported by Dodge City and Liberal, 72 over.
Everyone, welcome knowledge seekers. You may be wondering, why does she have a shark on her head? Well, today, I don't have mirror effect on. Today, I'm going to drop some knowledge about sharks. Here we go. In honor of a question from a viewer, Liam from Arkansas asked, why do sharks have so many teeth? That's a great question. Why do they have so many teeth? So, as I understand it, sea creatures like to filter through their stuff, and they have to be very efficient with their eating. So, sharks constantly grow new teeth. Could you imagine your teeth falling out like every week? So, the reason why they have so many is because back in their throat, they have these little things that kind of act like shredders to help shred up their food so they quickly digest as they swallow and that kind of thing. But they grow, and as they grow, they come forward and then they push their teeth out. That's how sharks' teeth are always jutting out, because technically their baby teeth are pushing out their older teeth, their grown-up teeth, we'll call them. And that's why you find lots of shark teeth at a beach place where you buy souvenirs, a beach shop or something like that, because they technically did not go to the shark dentist. They didn't go to the shark dentist and ask, hey, do you have a bunch of teeth? But they just find them in the ocean because shark's teeth fall out. Ooh, shark's teeth, that's hard to say. So anyways, that's why sharks have so many teeth, because they're constantly creating new ones. And it's just efficient for them to have lots of teeth so they can quickly shred their food and eat it and keep going and hunting for their next prey. So hopefully you're not the next shark bait. Ooh-rah-rah! Shark bait, ooh-rah-rah! Shark bait, ooh-rah-rah! I love Finding Nemo. Anyways, so yes, that question came from Liam from Arkansas. So thank you, Liam, so much for your question. I am in between classes right now. My 5 a.m. class canceled, so I've got some time to answer all those questions. And then, another question I had was about autism. And I will do my best to explain it. I need to get better props to explain autism. So, a viewer also asked me, why does autism make my brain go wild when I smell something or when I see something or something like that? So, in your brain, you have these cells called neurons. So these little bit tiny guys. And between the neurons, there's usually one connector called a synapse, okay? And so when we smell, and a neurotypical, a non-autistic person, this is how it's been explained to me. And a neurotypical person, non-autistic, when they smell, their neuron and synapse fire up. And they get one connection that fires up. They go, whew, I know that smell. Whew, that's old lady perfume. Ugh. But they believe, they're still studying this, so they're not 100% sure. But they believe that an autistic person has multiple connections. See how crazy it is to try to do this? Between synapses. So they still have the two little synapses, or the two neurons, but they have multiple synapses between neurons. So when we smell something, when autistic people smell something, 4 or 5 or 6 or however many synapses fire up. That's pretty wild, right? And that will make us feel wild and crazy, and it's called sensory overload. Our brain synapses get overloaded with electronic signals and can cause us a lot of stress because we're like, whoa. And that happens with light, sound, maybe touch. Another thing that sometimes the autistic brain will do is it will, because it senses light, sound, smells in such a strong way, when we do feel something strong like pain, we often will ignore it. Like, let's say a shark bit me, and I might be like, whatever, it's a mosquito bite, because I'm so used to ignoring my brain signals. Okay, so as autistic people have to be very careful and be very aware of how we're feeling in our bodies, because sometimes we can have an appendix problem, or for me, I had another part of my body that had a problem and it ruptured and I was in a lot of trouble. And I've had other situations where I was in a lot of pain, but because I was so used to ignoring my brain signals, I didn't pay attention to the brain. So that's why I have broken ribs or broken bones, and I didn't really pay much attention to it. So if you're hurting and you're autistic, check it out. Make sure you're okay. It's better to be safe than sorry. All right. So let's see what other questions have come in today. And thank you all so much for sending them in. I'm trying to remember all the questions this morning. If I had a sponsor today, it'd be Throat Tea by Yogi Tea Company or something. Yogi, I don't know how to say it. I think it's pronounced Yogi. Oh, I do want to brag about student Liam. He is only 6 years old and already knows his 12 times tables. Liam, that is super special because not many people can do that. So that's awesome that you can do that. And that's a cool thing about the autistic brain. Sometimes we're able to do things other people can't do very easily. Like for me, I put things in order very quickly and without much thought to it, but my brain just puts them in order. Another thing is, like, one time I was in math class. So here, story time. One time I was in this math class called trigonometry, since I've got some young viewers today. And the math class is like where you have shapes, but like really difficult numbers all together. So it's not like threes, it's like square roots of 3 or something like that. And you have to learn how to kind of explain the shapes in those difficult numbers. And I was really, really struggling in that class. Well, first test, I did great. The second one, I did terrible, absolutely terrible. I think I even may have failed it. And my professor at the time saw where I had written my math out in pencil, and because I always tell students, use a pencil when doing math so you can erase your mistakes. Well, apparently my mistakes were not mistakes, but correct answers. And so Dr. Warren, my trig professor, said, no more erasing. You are not allowed to erase any of your problems in my class anymore. You must either use a pen or just stop erasing. And so I stopped second guessing myself. I stopped erasing my work, and I made an A in the class. He dropped that test grade, and I was able to make an A in trigonometry. But to this day, I still don't know how I did it because I'm not good at geometry. I'm terrible at geometry. I get very confused. If it seems like for some reason with students I've experienced, if they're strong in algebra, they're going to have some geometry issues. But if they're strong in algebra Or if they're strong in geometry, they're going to have algebra. And if they're strong in algebra, they're going to have issues in geometry. And I had issues in geometry because my algebra strengths were very, very strong. And I don't know why that is. I wish I could talk to a math professor and find out why. I don't know how come algebra and geometry are like two different paths, and you can either go down one or the other, but it's hard if you go down both. Mentally, anyways. So yeah, and I tell people, they're like, how did you make an A in trig? And I'm like, my brain did it. I didn't pay much attention. My brain just figured it out. And it does that sometimes. It'll figure things out. And I'm like, how do I know that? It's pretty impressive. So for us people who are on that, the high functioning autism spectrum, used to be called Asperger's syndrome. That is by Hans Asperger's. He discovered some children who had phenomenal abilities. And just like Liam can with the 12 timetables, he found some children just like Liam, and he said, why are these kids so phenomenal? Why are they so amazing? And he thought, well, there must be some sort of thing that makes them different. And that's what we call syndromes and disorders and things, just things that make people different, which is kind of like saying you're blonde hair or blue-eyed or something like that. Sorry, see, I don't have mirror perspective on, so everything is backwards for me this morning. But yeah, see, just like how we say, oh, that person's blonde, we say, oh, that person has autism spectrum disorder. Or sometimes it's called pervasive development disorder not otherwise specified. That's a mouthful. I liked Asperger's a lot better. It was a little difficult to say, but it has a cute nickname, Aspies. Eva the Aspie. I like that. But sometimes when I'm being a little too different, my husband's like, honey, you're being a little too Aspie right now. So, yeah. But it's good to be different. If we were all the same and all alike, the world would be a very boring place. I mean, think about it. If Walt Disney, which I need to insert a Walt Disney quote. If Walt Disney had decided to be like everybody else, Mickey Mouse would not be around. Disney World would not be around because nobody else had made a place like that before. So we have these special things because people were brave enough to be different and to do something different. We have light bulbs because Thomas Edison was brave enough to go, I'm tired of using candles. I want to find a different light source. And he made a lot of mistakes in the process. But failure is the path to success. Oh, but you didn't know that, did you? So failure is the path to success. You have to go through, a lot of people think it's failure and success. And I want to give a shout out to Mr. Christian Santiago, who taught me this. He was an amazing boss. And he said, Eva, you keep thinking you can either be successful or be a failure, and you can't be like, you have one or the other, and you're struggling between the two. Success, failure. But he said you have to get through a lot of failures to find your success. So it's more like this motion instead of going like this. So, yeah. So I failed a lot. Boy, have I. But in the failure, I found, what am I good at? What am I not good at? What are my talents? What am I not talented in? I've learned how to deal with people better, you know? And that's the thing. Anytime you make a mistake, say, how can I learn from this? Like you get bit by a shark. How can I learn from this? Getting bit by a shark, just stay out of the water. Just stay out of the ocean. I don't like the ocean. To me, I don't know. Maybe one day I'll go to the ocean. I don't know. But I don't like the ocean. It smells funny. The sand is gritty. It's bright. Too much synapses get fired up. And I'm just like, nope. Lots of people. Maybe one day I'll go to the ocean. I don't know. I did when I was little. It was fun. All right, you guys, my time is up. It is time for me to go. So I hope to leave you with a quote. Here we go. Quote time. Oh, by Albert Einstein. All right. Quote time by Albert Einstein. Wisdom is not a product of schooling, but of the lifelong attempt to acquire it. That's some pretty good stuff, Albert. I used to call, where is my Albert Einstein photo? I've got to find it. My mother gave me this really cool picture of Albert Einstein for my birthday one year. And I need to put it in my office. I need to put it like right. Oops, other side, right here. That'd be a good place for Albert Einstein, right over there. Hang him up like old Uncle Al. Uncle Al. All right.